after 9/11, of course, after 9/11, they immediately planned in the administration. There were talk of what would happen immediately, and they said, Iraq. Of course, there's still a large number of American people still believe Iraq had something to do with 9/11. There was zero relationship with that. And yet the plan had been laid, of course, in 1998 to go in there. Now, you talk about an interventionist policy backfiring on us. The balance of power in the Middle East was a mess over there. Of course, we had been disrupting the area for a long time, supporting the Shah, precipitating the uprising of the radical Islamists in Iran. And, of course, us being an ally of Saddam Hussein to invade Iran. No wonder they get a little bit annoyed with us, and then being an ally with Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan, and on and on. But even after all that, we had the Taliban on one side, we had Saddam Hussein on the other side, and we had the Iranians in the middle. And the Iranians were pretty well held in check. They weren't invading anybody, threatening anybody. And what did we do? His two arch enemies. The Iranians' two arch enemy was the Taliban and Saddam Hussein. So we go out and we get rid of them. And I just wonder, those who push this war, the question they have to ask someday is, what if they come to the conclusion of realizing that we inadvertently have provided a great service to the Iranians? Why wouldn't we say, why don't we just quit this stuff? But unfortunately, it goes on and on. We are now at a stage which is very similar to those years leading up to the needless and foolish invasion of Iraq. And that is the war propaganda directed toward Iran. There is a preparation going on. It probably will not be the same as what happened in Iraq because we're running out of troops. But once again, are these embargoes and these boycotts? These are acts of war when you prevent countries from importing goods that they need to survive on. This is an act of war. And what happens? Other candidates in our party have said, we will take nothing off the table, even a nuclear first strike against a country that is incapable of threatening us. I mean, we have to come back to our senses on this. Why are we so scared? Why are we so intimidated? We don't need to be. We should be confident. I mean, we're capable of defending ourselves. We have a policy that has been designed, deliberately or not, who knows why these things happen, that literally rewards people who have nuclear weapons. Pakistan has a military dictator. He overthrew an elected leader, so now he's our friend. We go into Afghanistan, instead of going after Al-Qaeda and going after Osama bin Laden, we occupy the country for the interests of oil companies. And then what we do is we go and we support the Iraqis, and support the regime that we have there, pretending that this is going to bring sensibility back to the situation. But at the same time, we reward those people. We look at Pakistan, who now is harboring Osama bin Laden. We send them money. And they sent technology to North Korea. North Koreans now are playing games with us. So it seems like we as Americans have only two choices. That is, either we bomb them or go to war, or we subsidize them. Why don't we just leave them alone? Immediately after 9/11, the attack on our civil liberties became very determined. And the many, many bills that were passed were not new proposals. They had been around. They were not brand new. But the 9/11 attack was the excuse. And it wasn't hard to gender up the eagerness in the American public. And many members of Congress knew that they had not studied the bill. They couldn't have. We only had an hour or two to look at it, and it wasn't even really available to us. But when the Patriot Act came up, When I asked them about, why are you voting for this, you haven't even had a chance to read it. They said, well, the American people want us to do something. If I don't vote for this, then I haven't done anything. And besides, it's the Patriot Act. I won't be patriotic if I don't vote for this bill. So they voted for it. And then we start worrying about what it has done. And it has done a great deal of harm. And it's on the books. And it's not the kind of thing like they did in World War I, where many of these things were reversed. This war is perpetual. And it's going to last a long time. They're not about to change their tune. Why is it now that we have warrantless searches? Why do we have the rejection of habeas corpus? Why do we have this notion that even information that is obtained under torture is admissible in court? And why did we, as a Congress, change the Insurrection Act? The Insurrection Act had for since 1807, I believe, that it said that the President has the right to declare an insurrection, an emergency, with the consent of the governors and the Congress. But now, it's only under the consent of the President. Anytime, and for very lax reason. For medical reasons, for weather reasons, public order, they can declare martial law. And then you can be held, American citizens can be held as enemy combatants, and which means that the stage is set for American citizens to be held without due process and even being heard before a judge. And very, very dangerous. And quite frankly, I don't think we're going to see that massively abused in the next few months or even a year or two. But the idea that we're moving in that direction, we have no idea why. What was the purpose of removing those protections? If somebody didn't think it was a good idea, as protecting whom? Protecting the state. We're supposed to be existing, and the government's supposed to exist to protect you, not the state. This country was born as a republic, and that is very important. We have democratic elections, and that is important, but just the election process. But rights cannot be determined by a majority votes. Once you do that, you destroy the rights of the minority. And it's certainly our republic and our Constitution didn't come about to protect an empire. That contradicts the whole notion of a republic. And it is a time. We live in a time that is going to be very, very difficult, and our lives and our fortunes are going to be challenged. And we will have this opportunity to express ourselves in this campaign, which I think is very important and reasoned, I think, to be a bit optimistic that there are a lot of people in this country, a lot more than I ever dreamed, that are very, very interested in these views, and we should be pleased.